live. Hello, everyone. Hello. It's so weird. We just see my face here. That's disturbing. Like in the background. But I hope everyone is good. So today we're going to talk about, oh, shoot, I don't even have the book here. Where is it? Wait, I need to grab the book.
Mine's in another room too.
Have it here. So I've read the ebook. Has anyone listened to the audiobook? No? Okay.
I read the ebook too, but yours is the pretty version. I'm so jealous.
It's the US cover, right?
Yeah, do you want to see that British cover? It's so gross. Well, it's green. I'm not a fan, but I'm sure people that like it.
But hello, everyone. I'm awake. Hello. Yeah, I remember that.
Very greenish.
Yeah.
Just a bit.
I mean, I prefer this one.
Yeah, that was so pretty. I wanted to get it when I was in the US, but then I was like, oh, what if I don't like it?
Had a bit of an energy dip, so went to lie down for 20 minutes-ish, but my alarm came through and I'm ready to hear your thoughts on the book. Nice.
Appreciate that.
Listen to the audiobook. Okay, so the audiobook is good too.
You're not alone. That makes you feel better.
The US hardcover is worth a bit of money. They are no longer in print. But who wants to share their overall thoughts? Gabby, you finished the book. Kira, you're in the middle of it, right?
Yeah, I'm up to, like, I got through like the whole first section. I am up to page 223. It was just after like they introduced like the Campo Part 2 section.
Okay.
So that's pretty much like where I ended up. I was trying to get through it, but like, I mean, I'm flying through it because I really like it. I really like it. It kind of reminds me like a little bit of Mistborn, like in some aspects too, like with the sentient, like, and like a little bit like of Nightblood. I don't know if you guys ever read Warbreaker by Brandon Sanderson.
I've not read it, but
yeah. So like there's a sentient sword in there called Nightblood, and he's like very sassy and everything. Like I loved the sentient sword. It was great. Apparently like he makes appearances throughout Stormlight Archives too, from what I've heard. But Cleft really reminded me of Nightblood a little bit. So I really liked him. Yeah.
Nice. You, Gabby? What did you
think?
I
really loved it. I gave it 5 stars, and it definitely gave me vibes of Mistborn. I think it's the magic system because it's like kind of hard magic system with very like technical rules.
Yeah.
But I thought it was like super fast paced, really easy to read, really fun. Got me really invested in the characters. I loved Clef. Yeah, overall, really good time.
Yeah.
He is a cutie pie.
When I'm currently sat at a picnic bench.
Look at me wearing a sweater.
Sounds like a dream, reading in a hammock. I love it. All the names except for, you know, the funny thing about that name is that I kept saying clé in my head because this is actually the old French spelling for key.
Oh.
So that's what I learned growing up. Now the new generation, they're just writing like CLE, but I still write it with the F at the end, and it's clé, which means key. So
maybe that's how you're meant to say it.
I don't know. Honest, I know a lot of people said clef, so I'm like, that's or clef, that's what you would say, you know. But I don't know. Yes. But somewhere there is a I don't know.
I think it's
there might be a hardcover.
I think the 3rd book just came out like not too long ago.
Yeah, so usually the paperback is like 1 year later or something like that. Yeah. Spiders might be my 2022 book of the year. Yeah. I love Clef. He's a cutie pie. I agree. Sentient words just reminds me of Excalibur. It's all hello.
Hi.
High five to.
Oh, thanks. It's me. Books another nerd.
Oh yeah,
I was
true.
like, who?
I was like, what?
Hello. Hello.
Yeah, Klefki is a keychain Pokemon that is golden in its shiny form. Klefki. Okay. Yeah.
Nice.
I actually read it in 24 hours. I ate that
Nice.
book. I gave it also like 5 stars.
Mhm.
I loved it so much. Like, I love the magic system, the world building. I love the characters. I felt like they were multi-dimensional, if that's even English, whatever. And I obviously have like a few favorites, but I also feel like this book talked about many like serious themes, let's say, but in a light-hearted way. With our main character escaping her past. I'm not gonna say too much here. And like, she's kind of free, but are you ever free when every decision you make is determined by your past? And so many things like that I found so very well done and so interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely. If you hear a puppy crying, it's here. She's learning to go upstairs and downstairs, and she's here.
Aw.
Sorry.
No, it's a treat. Well, not crying, but
I felt like this book, Magic System, was a mix of many other books, but it worked. Yes, absolutely. And I also had the Brandon Sanderson kind of vibe with the Final Empire. So the Mistborn with the Allomancy. That's how you Allomancy, yes. But apparently there is also another book that's out there that has the same thing with. Do you say scriving or scribing?
I think scribing.
Scribing. Apparently there is another book which has not exactly, but the same thing, to make objects do other things. And
Well,
yeah.
I'm reading Babel by R.F. Kuang right now. And it's kind of like, I was like, wait, it's like very similar. No, I'm not saying anyone ripped anyone off. I'm just saying it's like a similar vibe between like writing things on objects and kind of like making them do certain things. So it's very interesting. And I was like, oh, hello.
Yeah. There is no regular format paperback for the third book. No. Yeah, we sadly need to wait for the paperback. Yeah. I'm so happy this book was a success. Yes, absolutely. I found the romantic aspect very refreshing and not what I thought at the beginning at all.
Same.
Yes, absolutely. 4 stars, took 2 days to read. Sasha, you're now on 3 books this year for my top rank. I'm happy.
Nice.
But actually, I did not. I think you, Kira, suggested that we read that book, that series, I think. So,
girl, you might be in for like the biggest winner we've had yet.
That's awesome.
love the opening heist, instantly taken a liking to sense. Yeah.
Man, like this book started off like so strong, like though, and I'm like, oh my god, like I don't remember like the last time I was hooked like this for a fantasy, for any book, like really, like it just really like just went right into it. I love that.
Yeah.
Especially because it's like an adult, and it actually was reading so quickly, flying through it.
Yeah, I agree, because usually like adult is more like technical or denser or whatever, and it's not that it was not, but I feel like because it was very fast paced, and the very beginning, it was supposed to be one thing that we're supposed to do, like one heist, one robbing something, stealing something or whatever, but it got so much more complex, and the whole team was on it, but also the dynamic between them, like not everyone was liking each other, but they had to deal with each other and they had to learn to work together. And I love that as well.
See, like that's another thing like that kind of gave me Mistborn vibes, was not like the main character, Senchia. She kind of gave me like a little bit of Vin vibes, a little bit. And then Ellen, I think his name was the what was it, like the cop guy? I'm trying to remember his name.
Is it George? Why am I thinking it's George?
Which one?
Yeah, Gregor. Sorry.
Ellen in Mistborn was like part of the elite, and so he is too. So that kind of like like I don't know, like there's just like a lot of like little patterns and stuff that I'm noticing.
Yeah, I loved Gregor.
Mm.
Who were your favorite characters? If there were like only one or three or whatever, did you have a favorite? I know that personally I loved all main character, but I also loved Clay or Clef and
Mm.
Gregor, but also Orso. Orso
Yeah.
was annoyingly talented.
Yeah.
I feel like it's so funny because I think maybe my favorite it's Santia, however we say her name,
Yeah.
which is so weird because I normally hate the main character because I find them annoying. But she was so cool. I really, really liked her. But then, like you kind of said, everyone I've grown to like so much because I thought Orso was going to be an asshole. And I didn't think Bernice was going to be that big of a character. And then all of a sudden they became this like group of friends and like a team, like, you know, like in it together kind of thing. And I loved everyone. And he's so annoyingly talented and smart. And in the end, he made everything work out. And I was like, what? I love this man. But yeah, Clef was also an awesome one. I really liked him.
Yeah. You, Kira? You had a favorite?
I don't like. So of course, like I'm only like halfway through the book, so like I haven't had as much experience like with Bernice and Orso or
Orso, yeah.
Yeah, as you guys have. So I'm still kind of like new to them, but I mean, I like all three of like the main characters that I've had the most exposure to so far, which was the cop, and then Cynthia, and then Cleft. So I'm like really kind of eager like to find out how, you know, like the other two are going to incorporate into this. But I mean, obviously like Orso has to be like talented, like, you know, like for who he works for. And, you know, he's also like, you know, well renowned like in that family because he is so good at what he does. So I'm kind of curious to see like how that applies to the rest of the story.
Yeah. See, we're always a bit similar, right? But I'm just too dumb for the physics explanation.
Same. Just take it as it comes.
Yeah. Lovely introduction to the wonderful magic system. I love that magic system.
It was great, but they were talking about like physics and shit, and I was like, I can't understand what you're talking about, but I'm gonna appreciate it as it is.
Yeah, but that's because it made sense actually. Because I mean, can we? I mean, I think it might get spoilery here.
Yeah. Well, I have an example that's like not really a spoiler, but like a very light thing. It's like it was so funny with Gravity. I don't know if you know it. Yeah, so because they were talking, I don't know if Kira, if you mind, but it's like a little spoiler, I guess. But they kind of figured out how gravity works because they were like, oh, we thought gravity was just up and down. And actually gravity is like each object is like, you know, has gravity to other objects, like just a different amount. And I was like, wow, I didn't even click when they were first talking about gravity. Like I know like how gravity works technically, but it didn't even click because I was just like, oh yeah, okay. And then I was like, oh my God, they're actually like figuring out what we know about gravity. But it's like, yeah, like you said, it makes sense and it's like fitting within the laws of physics, even if I don't totally understand it. And I thought that was super cool.
Yeah, that's because it was like a mix of magic and tech and knowledge. And that's what I loved about it. Like it felt way more like reachable might not be the right word, but in that spirit.
Yeah.
Plausible.
Yeah. Where the object could be convinced to be stronger or made of other materials was so interesting.
Yes.
I love that. I love that. And it's a bit also like of a nonsense, which I actually liked. And you know, when they were like, I feel like we're gonna get into spoilers now. Maybe we should just like warn everyone here. We're gonna get into spoilers.
Are you sure you're okay with this, Kira? I feel so bad.
That's fine. I mean, I'm gonna be finishing this and I'll probably be hopping right into the next one.
We might not dive into all the details, so you still get like some surprises. But the only thing I was like going to say regarding that is that when they have to convince the door to open inwards, to actually not like start all the alarms or words or whatever, I was like, this is so nonsensical, if that makes any sense. But I loved it because it made sense within that world and the discussions and like the debate and the, I don't know, because you needed to understand how things worked, like in the whole like let's say with the door, you have to understand that the door opens one way. So the door got asked not to do that, but then you have to understand how the magic works and like I don't know, it's just that knowledge thing. I feel like it was a very smart magic system, and that our main character was really smart, but a very human way, in a very human way. So I love that.
Yes. I actually feel like the main character is so interesting because she wasn't like the best at wielding magic because she was the smartest. You know what I mean? It's like there are characters that are smarter than her and better at the craft of it. It's just like she's got something extra that none of them have, like being a scribed human. So it was like super cool because it felt like they were a team. You know, it's not like her and she could do this by herself, no problem. It was like all of them together. I mean, they did mainly send her to do the physical stuff, but like they kind of worked on it together, and I really like that.
Yeah. Where am I in the comments? Gregor initially seemed like a baddie to avoid, but that's also because I feel like you seem like immediately like wary of characters who had all the privilege at one point, that are just, they reject everything to just do what's better for the people. You know what I mean? You always like tend to, okay, can I trust you? What's your agenda? What, you know? So yeah.
So I thought, and tell me if I was alone, I thought it was going to be the main love interest. I was so sure. And then it wasn't. And I was like, oh, fair play. I like this more. But because I was like, he's like quite older and I don't know about this vibe. But no, it was just kind of a good friend. It was really cool.
I love that. I love that. Because at the end, actually, the vibe I got from him, and I wrote, great male character, honorable, if that makes any sense.
Yes.
Like honorable, like very much.
I feel like he kind of was his own character, not like I like that he was his actual character, not like the love interest. If that makes sense.
Yeah. The same. Suddenly, he and the are allies, and Sentia suddenly has a new crew of misfits, and we're allies. Yeah. But I love the dynamic. Gregor, what's your favorite?
Nice.
Read the audiobook or ebook in the meantime?
Oh, I think Leonie was telling Tufty that he doesn't have to.
Yeah, that's the solution. Yes, Clay, love the banter between he and Sencha. Yes, absolutely loved Clay. Absolutely. It was also its own character, if that makes any sense. But also, oh my gosh, who he really was. Wait, my internet is acting up. Am I weird? Or
a little grainy?
Yeah.
Okay, but you can hear me perfectly, right?
Yeah.
Okay. That's what matters. But who Clay is, you know, regarding what happened to him, how come he's Clay?
Yeah.
I don't know if you know that, Kira.
No, I haven't gotten that far yet.
Okay,
but they
yeah, go ahead.
But they did kind of like discuss, like they kind of hinted like that, you know, he was made by, you know, like the ancients, I guess, like the and they did kind of like the part like that I got to, they did kind of allude to the fact that you know, he felt very like lonely, which almost like, you know, kind of makes me like wonder like how sentient he really is, like what kind of consciousness he is.
I want you to self-discover how he was exactly made. But when we got that revelation, I think I was surprised. I don't know about you, Gabby, but
yeah, I was like surprised. It was like surprising, not because I felt like there was something definitely there. So I thought it was going to be like something slightly different, like he was going to be a regenerated character that we heard of, which is not really what happened. But I guess I kind of had an inkling, but I was still like, oh, that is grim. And it kind of, when you like realize the extent of it, it was like quite like evil actually. And you're like, wow. Yeah, it was really interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. Clay was my favorite. Yep.
Yeah, I've heard like I know like I'm really excited like to see about like where the series progresses like though, because everybody that I've heard like that's finished the series, like even like mentioning it, like they said that the ending was very satisfying too.
Ooh, good.
So
Mm.
I heard nothing but good things about this series.
Nice.
Same.
Nice. I'm really looking forward to every single book of that series, and I'm so sad it is actually a trilogy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's such an expansive word, you feel like. But I feel like it'll go
Yeah.
so big. I feel like even from beginning of the book to the end of the book, it expanded like so much. Because you're like, oh, it's about this one girl. Oh no, wait, it's about this group of thieves trying to do one thing, steal something. And then you're like, oh wait, actually we're revolutionizing the whole world and the meaning of reality. It's like, wow, okay.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's gonna go
Mm.
places.
I actually really like how it definitely has like that steampunk kind of feel to it, and I really like how their magic system and their technology are the same thing.
Yep.
Which is really interesting too, because like especially like towards the beginning, like where that guy had the pocket watch and he's all like, he uses that pocket watch to kind of like, disarm everything. I think, like that like really shows like just how much they rely on this system, and without it, they have like, nothing. So
Yeah.
that pocket watch threatens like everything that is in that world.
Mm.
Yeah, and you can see like everyone freak out so much because they're like, "This is what we built our civilization on, so we're fucked." Like, kind of no matter which side they were, obviously not the like perpetrator, but everyone else is like, no matter where you're from, that's like really bad and freaks you out. So,
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. It was such a likely alliance.
Alliance.
Reminded me of Six of Crows, except with all the characters as well. Yeah. I simply have to wait for the right moment. Sorry, you will be patient, I'm sure. I felt like Gregor was a bit too good to be true for most of the novel. Yeah, that's a vibe I got from Gregor as well. But
Yeah, but then I guess they kind of subverse it towards the end. There's like a thing about him, right? So, but I know what you mean. I did think like he was just such a nice, like a good, honorable person. So I was so sure like he was gonna die or something because we can't have nice things, I was like, we cannot just be happy and have nice people.
As a scientist, I love seeing science in books. I just love figuring everything out with the characters. Yes. And this also, the magic system builds upon itself in multiple layers, getting ever more complicated and fascinating. Just brilliant stuff. Yes, because at the very beginning, I felt like some bits were a bit like info dumping. But then I felt like what kept me reading this book is that we beginning with just a main character and her ability. And then throughout the pages, the chapters or whatever, it got deeper and deeper, and the magic system got like seemed very simple, straightforward at the beginning, but then got very complex and like so many like layers, so many like exceptions, so many rules, so many things left and right. That was really like keeping me reading the book.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's another thing that reminds me of Mistborn. It's just like it's not just it's magic. It's like you have to think it through like really deeply and like really make some very hard roles. It's very interesting.
Yeah, but also the imagination of the author. Like I would have never come up with something like that.
And then rules to it and make physics and maths and all this stuff. You're like, what? Must be a smart man.
I tapped that door scene, loved it. Yes, I love the discussion. But also like when you were like reading the objects or inside conversation or whatever, how sometimes they sounded like they lost their mind and they were just like things again and again and again. I was like, okay.
It was really cool. It kind of reminds me, like it in like I think it's Greek mythology, when there's like that Sphinx that asks questions to like have passage, and it's like a trope, right, of asking like these like riddles and stuff. So this almost felt like a riddle or like a puzzle of trying to like get around this logic, and in the end they kind of always did it like quite smartly, whereas like I would be like, I've no clue. But it was really clever, and it was kind of fun to like discover it. And in the later part, kind of, that scene with Sansia trying to talk to the things holding her, and it's like it's such
The
a like
handcuff.
in depth, just and it's like you can see her process of thinking, and it's not like super instant. It's just like really a lot of effort was put into like figuring it out, and I kind of like that it like took a second and stuff. So it was really fun.
Yeah, I love that thing as well. As you just said, like she didn't know right away what she was supposed to say or how she was supposed to talk to them, and she just like got frustrated, but then repeated the thing. I don't know if you read about that, Kira, but she was at one point stuck on a table, and she had like handcuffs. She couldn't move,
Oh,
but she
wow.
knew she could get herself out of it by talking to the handcuffs or whatever. But she was talking to them, and it was like, how can I open you? And they were like, you have to, what was it? You have
Like you need
to,
the key, and then it's like
yeah, tell me a
there's another
secret or
way.
something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I cannot remember. And every time she would like, okay, what kind of secret? And he would like, you had to repeat the entire sentence, like the entire conversation, if that makes any sense, for the object not to forget what they were actually talking about. And you could see her getting like frustrated, and you could see her learning how to do it. And I love that.
It sounds like she learned a lot from Cleft, because
Definitely.
like she didn't have that ability at the beginning. And that to me like makes her like an even more interesting character.
Definitely. I mean, she definitely learns. Like, even at some point, she has to like open the door, and she kind of makes the same argument to the door as Clef did in the beginning. And I thought that was so clever because you can really see that she like doesn't like just. She's very like inquisitive, and she remembers stuff, and she like can apply it to different situations, kind of stuff. So that was really cool.
Yeah, but that's because like she got unblocked by something.
Yeah, there's like a thing that happened.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like, yes, the ability, but I mean, like the logic of it, and like she got that from
Oh yeah.
Clef, like the thinking through, because she's seen him do it. She can kind of repeat the logic, not just the ability itself, but like the ability to wield the ability, if that makes sense.
She becomes like she becomes kind of a key herself.
Yeah.
Sasha,
I think she's frozen. Oh, she's back. I thought it was my internet, but I guess not, because I can see you, Kira, very clearly. Hello, Sasha. Wow, there's so much discussion in the comments. I can't even catch up. So Tafty said, in yesterday's chat about Kings of the Vales, there was a lot of talk of eggplant, but here is more about a whole bunch of scrumming and candles. They did love talk about scrumming. I thought it was funny that they used the word scrumming, considering this is an adult book. They could just say fucking, but it kind of made it fun.
I'm here. Sorry.
Yay, no worries.
I had to switch my Wi-Fi. Sorry for that.
It looks really good now. So.
Oh, perfect. I just switched, so that's good. But what were you saying, Kira? I missed. Okay, that's okay.
I don't remember.
Don't worry. I was often surprised throughout this book. It was awesome. Arcane with the doors, the logic of the magic system. Absolutely. They didn't become a thing. So Gregor and
Fun.
Sancha
Yeah.
made for badass fight scenes, quite unlike what I'm used to. So that surprised me too.
Yes, Gregor's gun. That was so interesting.
Wait, that like a hammer thingy? I imagined like a hammer, but maybe it was a gun. I don't know. Sometimes the descriptions were a little over my head. I was like, I don't know what to imagine, so I'll just.
Yeah, but I don't think it matters that much because the magic system was already was complex and everything. So I feel like
But he's like interesting. Was super badass. I was like,
I was a bit worried as my friend who has a similar reading taste DNF'd it, but I absolutely loved it. It's always great to find a new favorite. Can't wait for the second book. Really?
Friend has no taste. Was what we mean. Nah, joking. But I'm glad you liked it. Sorry, I said I'm glad the person really liked it.
Yeah, Gregor is a puppy that used to be a murder machine that chose to become a puppy because of it. That chose to become.
Yeah. He is a puppy. I want happiness for him.
Hello! Like the book. Nice. We're all enjoying it. I mean, we all enjoyed it or are enjoying it. That in the book, yeah. But I feel like every single character they were not like all similar, if that makes any sense. They were not like, they were completely their own character with their own past, with their own behavior and way of interacting, personality and everything. And that's what I loved about them. And they were also complex. Like they were complicated in their own way.
Yeah, they weren't just like archetypes or like stereotypes of what character in a series is. It's like everyone was really like, interesting. And like even with Sansa, I think what's super interesting was like trauma and kind of how that played out with her. And like, there's a scene, I don't know if you got to it yet, Kira, but when we find out about the plantation and Orson's like, are you from this plantation? And she like freaks out completely. She's like, did you do it? And it's like she's kind of like having PTSD episode or something. I thought that was fascinating, and like how quickly Gregor could identify and empathize with that because he's seen it on battlefields. It's just so complex, and it's like very like layered like amount of grief and trauma. And like you said, like if she's doing everything she's doing is because of the fear and trauma of the past, is she really free? So that was like very interesting way to put it.
But that's what makes her very human as well. Because you don't get over things. I don't want to say like easily because it really depends on every single one. We're all different and we all deal with things differently. But she felt very human in her way of reacting to different situations and her thought process and thinking and everything. Like it felt very, very human and believable and everything. And that felt for her like so many times. I just wanted to hug her. Like, it's gonna be okay.
Oh man, I felt so bad for her. Like the fact that she couldn't even touch like a human. That is so heartbreaking. I really felt for her. And like you said, I just made it like I felt how like sad and lonely and all that she must have been. And then she technically could touch Clef and she could connect with Clef, and that's what made the friendship so beautiful to me. So I don't know, I felt like super attached to the two of them. It's just like amazing how the author made me care about a girl and her key, you know what I mean? It's like mind blowing because I was like, that's my favorite relationship in the whole book probably.
Yeah, but also I love their relationship even because Key was like, Clef or whatever, was like lonely, and the fact that he found someone that was listening to him. Love that. Yeah, yesterday was a bit wild. I don't know if you've read Kings of the Wild, but there is a lot of deep jokes in it.
I started because of your live show, but I didn't finish in time. I'm like 24% in. I kind of like it, but I know what you mean. I'm listening to the audiobooks, so I can just kind of let it wash over.
Well, spoiler alert, the majority of people did not enjoy it.
Really? I mean, I definitely don't like it as much as this one, but so far it's fun.
Yeah. Wait, where was I? Yeah, I love how significant a character a key could be in a book. Did not see that coming. Surprises they were spread throughout the books, and Shell's origin story was eye-opening too.
You know, with her, what I found super interesting is that so we meet her and pretty much right away know that she's like a scribed human. Like I think she says it. We know why she has the power, and we know about the plate in her head, and we know all that. But because she's the only POV character, at least to a certain point, because then we hit Gregor, but he doesn't know for majority of the time. It's like I didn't really understand how big of a deal that was until other characters in the world find out and reacted to it. If that makes sense. Because I thought, because she made it sound like scribed humans are rare, but like they exist. And then people were kind of like, nah, you're like the only one. So it was like even a bigger deal. And then they were like so horrified. So because like we're just introduced to this magic world. So if you tell me they're scribed humans, I'm like, okay, they're scribed humans. Can be not a big deal. But it is a big deal, but we don't really learn that till later. And you also, to me, that's kind of like Sansa maybe underplaying what happened to her and kind of pushing away the gravity of it. That makes sense to an extent.
Yeah. No, it absolutely makes sense. But at the same time, maybe for her, as she has seen so many experiments going on, maybe people survive for a little while. So she thought that she was not the only one.
Yeah,
that maybe that I don't know. Maybe she saw obviously people like dying and everything and whatever. But maybe she thought that she saw them survived. So
true. Because she thought there was someone to like fix it. So she must have thought it was more common than it was. And then she made a comment in the very beginning. She's like, oh, merchant houses or whatever they're called would they love getting a scribed human as if it was something that happens often. But then you're kind of like, well, this is not really something that happens often. Maybe it happened before once or twice, but not like often. So you're right. Maybe she thought it wasn't quite as rare as it was. And
yeah, but regarding like the merchant houses, I feel like they were all in competition with each other, coming up with the next evolution, the next technology, whatever. So the fact that one would have someone like her would be a big advantage. So I feel like that's what I understood. Now I don't know.
I had a thought, but now I don't know what a thought was. Never mind.
It was a whip that hammered down.
Yeah, okay, that's what it was. Yes, whip. But I thought it was like a whip or like a hammer. I don't know. I was like imagining.
Sometimes it's weird and hard to imagine.
I thought it was a gun, and then he nicknamed it whip. Because like the whip was always capitalized.
For me, it was a gun, whatever. I mean, a sword or whatever. It was like something he was using. So I did not picture anything, to be fair. So you can come up with all the theories you want. I will believe everyone. I don't know.
Yeah, that's why in fan art, my imagination is just not up to scratch.
But that's interesting to see that everyone got it like differently, because maybe it's on purpose.
Yeah, I guess it's like a magical thing or magic or whatever.
They were a misfit bunch that fit together extremely well because they had different skill sets, characters I didn't expect to like. I grew to love, like Gregor. Yep. Are you getting extra hyped to read the rest from all these thoughts and joy?
I mean, I've been having trouble putting it down since I started. So, yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
I'm excited to hear what you thought next month.
Was 3 stars for me, whereas this an easy 5 stars. But yeah.
I think I remember reading the first chapter in Kings of the Wild. It didn't hook me instantly. So
like I'm reading it and it's like fun, but I'm not dying to pick it up or anything. So I just listen to it when I'm cleaning or something. So it's like good time, but Yeah, I know what you mean. Whereas this one, you're like, ooh, I need to know. Like, I read it really quickly. I think I read it in 2 days, like, because I was on the deadline, but also because I knew, like, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Yes, that was my favorite thing of the book, to the bond and conversations between Sencha and Clay. Yep. I thought it was a police might say face on the See, but,
That might be the best one yet.
no, but that's interesting that we all saw something different, you know. I love that. Whip, hammer, gun, sword. Yes, I agree. That should be a
Works.
thing.
Insert your like weapon of choice.
What made you pick Foundryside for your read-along? Somebody said vibes, which is quite broad.
Yeah, I saw your tweet about this, and I said, oh, I think just vibes. I don't know. I don't think there's like one, because we did do a poll one time, but I think this one didn't.
I think we had like a document, like a Google sheet or whatever, in which we entered all like books, like YA fantasy, YA sci-fi, adult fantasy, or whatever. And that one was also interesting because Kira mentioned it, because the series was actually finishing this year, and I had already like the first copy on my shelves that was waiting for at least a year to be read. So it was just like what happened, because we didn't do a poll for that one. We just decided it will be that one.
And I think I talked about doing this one like way back when as our second or third book, but the book wasn't out yet, so we couldn't do it. So we were like, oh, maybe we'll do it later. But yeah, no, I don't know. I've wanted to read it since it came out because the cover was so pretty. I have no other thoughts in my head. I was like, the cover's very pretty. I want to read it.
Yeah,
and then I heard good things.
And I kept hearing that the magic system was really unique and different from the rest of your regular fantasy, let's say, and that's what actually captivated me.
So. I read the first book in his other series, City of Stairs. And that one, like, I feel like this was definitely like, I don't know, I noticed like the writing difference.
This one?
Yes.
Yep, for reference.
Yeah. And I noticed like there's a huge like difference like in his writing, because that was his like first, I guess, published book. This is much smoother, I feel like, than that other one. It was interesting, but it felt like a little disjointed, I guess, like in some of like the like all the elements like of the world didn't feel like they connected as smoothly as this one does. Like this one feels like a lot more like fleshed out and like polished, I guess.
I haven't read that other series, but I will be curious to read it at some point to see the difference and understand what you mean. But this one feels very like, it doesn't feel like a debut novel.
No.
It feels like everything is intentional, that it was like good editing and cut and everything, and that everything made sense. And I would not be surprised if we got infos in this book that will be very relevant to the second and the third book that we didn't see or didn't catch, or, you know, little snippets there and there, because it feels like very smartly written.
Yeah, it is.
Yes.
Definitely.
That's why I'm excited to read it with you guys, because that means I'll actually read it month by month and I'll actually finish it, because otherwise it's like I'd forget everything. But this way is good.
That's thanks to the Readalong Queens that I actually get some series.
I know. Yeah. I don't think I finished a single series this year, not for this Readalong. It's kind of tragic, really.
Yeah, it's what it is. English isn't my first language, and sometimes my imagination can catch up, and I'm too lazy to look the terms. But oops, yeah, don't worry. Relatable. Yeah, we all have different theories. Foundryside has quotable sentences that mean absolutely nothing unless you've read it. For example, a tool to use against other hero fans or other scribers during some kind of Occidental civil war to detect and control and suppress their rigs.
There's so many wars, and I was like, why do you mean it Occidental wars? Because that made me feel like they were accidental. I don't know, in my head I kept thinking like, why do you call it accidental? Was it like oops, we fell into this war now? I was like, what is happening? Oh, not like Occidental was like the whole the whole bunch of like the what do you call civilization, right?
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah.
I just thought it was such a funny word to use. Like, what does it mean?
I was already really curious about it because I knew there was a talking key. That was the only thing I knew. See, I didn't even know that. Foundryside was my introduction to Robert Jackson. I'm going to hold his other books. Nice.
Well, hopefully he'll have a new series considering this one's finished.
Mm-hmm. Hopefully.
I'm excited to read that.
I thought whip, historically, they have had whips with sharp things added to the end. Thing, cat or nine tails. Oh, okay.
I know what you mean. That's cool.
I don't know. Maybe I need to go Google it and see if there is some fandom website or whatever somewhere with some illustrations to actually understand. I knew absolutely nothing about this book. I hold it because you folk had picked it to read and because it wasn't YA, which I tend to swerve. Sorry. No, don't say sorry. It's absolutely fine. We all have different tastes. But I'm glad you ended up enjoying it. Between Readalong Queens and Howling Back, I have capacity for monthly read-alongs.
Hopefully it will keep you going though, or like motivating.
Yeah. It's been on my TBR for so long because one of my favorite booktubers, Reagan from Peru's projects, kept recommending it.
Nice.
And makes it sound way more fantasy-esque than if they went with priest. Yes, absolutely.
Wait, is that what this word means?
I mean, that's what I understood. Some kind of like.
I mean, I don't know. If I'm being honest, this book lore, like especially the old lore, was a little bit confusing. It was like a lot of big words that I didn't really like. It took me a really long time to understand that hierophants and there were creatures they made, and then there were hierophants, but they weren't I thought hierophant was anyone living back in that time, but then I realized no, it's like elevated type of human. Like it took me a really long time to wrap my head around it. I don't hardly understand it yet. Wow, Leonie made another good point, sorry, below that comment. Apparently I'm just not very good with language. I had no clue that. I thought it was like they took the word Occidental and added an O.
Oh no, I didn't. Yeah, Occidental means like Western European, for instance, or whatever.
Oh, I didn't know that.
At least that's the word in French. We don't say like East and West. We say East, actually Eastern European, like people from East, whatever. But we don't say West. We say Occidental.
Oh, wait. So this is the second French word in this book. Maybe it's like, is all of the things taken from French?
That's a good point.
Is hierophant like a French sounding word? I don't know.
No, I don't think so.
See, I learned French, but like 7 years ago, and not this high level of French.
Let me Google it because no, I don't know. No, a person, especially a priest who interprets sacred mysteries or esoteric principles.
Wow, girl, guys, I'm learning so much reading these comments.
It's a priest in ancient Greece.
Ah, that's helpful.
Yeah.
See, I could Google this stuff, but I'm too lazy, so.
Don't worry, we can talk about it during the live show.
Learn something new every day.
He liked to attach other more unusual words to familiar themes. I like that. Yeah, it made it very different, from other things or our world, if that makes any sense. Because at the end of the day, there was like a magic system or whatever, but it didn't feel like, other high fantasy when everything is like so fantasy-esque. I don't even know how to explain it, but it almost felt like a regular world with a lot of like knowledge, magic, things going on, and not just a magical world. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense what I just said, but
no, I understand what you mean. I feel like this kind of I've not watched it, but it kind of reminds me of that show that was made based on League of Legends. It's like a cartoon.
Arcane?
Yes,
Okay.
and people really love it. Just in the fact that there's like this, like everyone lives in such terrible poverty except for this like upper echelon. I mean, they've not invented the concept, but it just kind of
Mm.
like how wealthy the merchant houses were, and then everyone else that lived in Foundryside or the outside area, just like how bad it was. It's like really startling.
Yeah, a lexicon would have been helpful for some things. I agree.
Yeah,
I
100%.
agree.
Maybe
I was
Booktube.
a bit confused as well. Yeah, I feel like many were confused with some concept and everything. Hierophant was a new word to me. Yeah, I did not know that about Occidental. It's Greek. Kept popping up in my last read, which was about Vietnam and France. So maybe language is wild. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Also makes sense as the counterpoint of Oriental.
Interesting. I feel like this book needs like a map and a lexicon, and that would make it come together.
Yeah, but also it makes me think that there are even more clues in this one regarding the rest of the series with all like these words and
Definitely.
everything.
Probably like everyone's names are like, I don't know if it's just me. Maybe this is like I'm talking out of my ass, but like the the Uber emperor or whatever the hell he was from the Occidental people. His name, I kind of kept thinking Julius Caesar, like the vibe of him, but maybe I'm so off. I don't know. But now I'm thinking like if he's from the Western world, it's like the Roman Empire or something. I don't know. I can't find his name though, so I don't know what it was. But
I cannot remember the name, to be fair.
it didn't sound like Julius Caesar. It just gave me the vibe. His whole
The
thing
vibe,
gave me the vibe, and I don't know why. But if it's Greek in origin, well, he was Roman, but still.
That's cute. Neighborhood black cat has just come wandering by my garden.
Nice.
Lexicon to explain their use of the word lexicon is pretty funny. Yeah. And a map. I agree.
Maybe Booktube. I don't know. Do either of you have Booktube?
Not yet.
I do. Give me a second.
Have a look. I really want a map because I don't really understand this world. Like I understand that this is just one city, but then like, is everything else like a plantation / like a? No, there must be other like big cities and countries. So it's just maybe we've not heard about
Yeah.
them.
Nope.
The soup dragon. I think I recall Fox from Booktube saying they wanted to reread the series when the third one, Locklands, was released. Okay.
Yeah. Every fantasy book should have a map, at least because I have ADHD and forget everything after 1 second.
So there's no maps in either one.
I feel like, especially when you have a heist story, you have to have a map. I need to understand. If it's like just in this one city, it's so fun to have a map.
No soup for you. Yeah. But overall, I really enjoyed it. I felt like it was really good. I have high hopes for the rest of the series.
Yes.
Me too. I'm so excited.
Another series that I would love to read, but they're more like the last one, especially, like a little bit more of a time commitment. The first book's called The Shadow of What Was Lost by James Islington. I don't know if you guys
Rings the bell.
Sorry, could you repeat the title?
The Shadow of What Was Lost by James Islington.
I've seen the series.
I've heard this is another one that I've heard a lot of good things about.
Nice. Oh yeah, I remember seeing the cover and thinking it was a Brandon Sanderson book because it looks like the British covers of Brandon Sanderson.
Is that what it's called? The Lycanis trilogy? Lycanis trilogy? Where's my phone?
For everyone's reference, this is it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I it's already on my TBR. Yes.
How many books is it?
3. But the
3.
last one I think would take us a while because
They look like chunky monkeys, man.
they are. They're very chunky.
Well, maybe if I don't know what we're doing after this one, but we usually take like a mental break with an easier one. So maybe that's when, because these look chunky.
It's 900 pages, Alaska.
We might have to do that. Maybe we should. We would maybe like split like the last book like up into 2 months.
Yeah. Well, is it a high fantasy?
Nice. But we still have a break in December, so we can take the time to decide something and then see if we start in January or February.
Because we mentioned I know like that there's kind of 3 like that we've kind of been discussing. We mentioned the like for the shortness of it, which was the Gideon the Ninth trilogy. We talked about that one. We also talked about the Sun Eater one, which is getting ready to finish. That's a 5-book series. So it's a pretty big series. That's that space opera. And then we also just talked about this one.
Nice.
So those are the 3 like that I know like that we're kind of in the process of discussing.
I really want to read Gideon the Knife. Sorry, what were you gonna say?
No, I saw a question here. I don't remember where all the plantations, even in the city itself. For me, it was like far away, like in another.
I think all of them were like in colonies or what. I don't know if they cite the word colony, but that's what I got from that.
And that's one of the, as I said at the beginning, it was talking about serious subject was like a light-hearted way to introduce everything. It's like about that, the plantations that are definitely something huge in our past, like in reality was like slavery and everything. So
100%.
Yeah. I'm up to the mountain part. What did everyone think of that with the whole blood thing? Wait, was it
the fact that you need blood to come through the doors?
Oh yeah. At one point, I don't know if you are there, Kira, but
okay.
They need to like enter like some kind of, they call it the mountain, but it's actually like something that's protecting a city within it. That's what I understood, that it was like a huge protection or whatever that they called the mountain, but it was a magical thing itself because it was like a bit like clef, whatever, with like powers or whatever. And in order to enter some places, to enter that place, they had like wards and whatever, so not just anyone could enter it. And then one of the characters had to take someone's blood to fake that they were the person that was allowed to enter that way, that door, that passage or whatever, if that's what you're referring to. But that mountain, at the beginning, I was confused because I was like, is it an actual mountain? Like an actual, like, like or whatever? But it was actually like a field, I almost feel like.
So I think it was a physical mountain, but then that mountain was scribed so that it had this invisible field of what the mountain, the entity was. But I think it was located in an actual mountain. But
that's what I'm not sure. I think it was, but then they said that it had like 50 floors, 60 floors, wasn't it? Like the building.
So I think it was like in my head, but I could be wrong. It was a mountain, but the mountain was kind of like hollowed out to make actual like building. So I thought it was like it had like floors because it was like built inside a mountain or drilled into a mountain or something. But maybe it was just a very tall building that they called a mountain. Now I'm thinking about it. I don't know.
For me it was like a shield, a domed building of sorts. That's what the vibe.
Yeah, I thought it was a real mountain.
We got something different from it. So Kira, I'm curious to see what you want.
Because I'm just thinking like the mountain would just collapse if you drilled out that much of it, right?
But not if it's magical and if it's convinced that it's like rock, metal, whatever.
Because it was definitely made out of rock. Because we get descriptions of rock falling and shit. So, but it had windows.
Yeah, but we're scribing. you can convince anything to be something else. So maybe even the stones were convinced they were like iron.
Maybe, yeah. That's I didn't even. I was just like, yeah, it's like a mountain. But no, that makes sense actually. It was just a very big building.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, they were. Oh wait, I'm glad we're on the same page regarding that at least.
Yeah.
8 books. Oh, for the Invisible Library. Okay. Nice. But got very sci-fi, just be making the magic system very, very advanced. Brilliant.
I really like the mountain too. I really like the personality of the mountain. All of the magical objects, I was just like all over them.
But see, the glass ceiling collapsed at one point, so there were weaknesses.
Guess that was glass then.
But yeah, I don't know if you had anything else to add to this review / discussion. I feel like we talked about everything.
Yeah. I mean, I am just so curious about where this is going because of the ending and like kind of the thing that got released at the end and like the other thing that we learn about. It's just like all these forces larger than life. I'm very curious to see where it's going.
Same. Yeah, no, I think we talked about everything that I had. Like, I took notes. I was prepared.
Nice. See, this is why I leave. This is why I like reading the book super late, so I remember it. But then I'm so stressed about reading it. It's always like a battle.
Yeah. Excited to read the sequel.
Yes.
Same. Great picks. Yeah.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
This was like such a fun discussion we had with all of you guys. Well, you girls, of course, but everyone else as well.
I feel like no one hated it, right? Here in the chat, no one hated it.
Stand up and say you hated it and leave.
No, don't leave. We will listen to all comments.
No, I'm joking.
I bad into this chat. Yeah, I'm glad everyone liked it so much. I agree. Like, I don't think anyone like hated it. But I really like to summarize it: a fun, light-hearted adventure, cool and multi-dimensional characters, and cool magic system and action-packed. That's how I would summarize.
Yes, it's like light-hearted with the most traumatic themes you've ever seen, but made really accessible and light-hearted.
Yeah, that like slavery, colonialism, class, race society, rights of women. I feel like we were like also, there were also like subjects that were like touched on like within the
bodily
book.
autonomy, slavery, but like slavery to an extent where it's like controlling you. It's like very interesting.
No soul this time. No DNFs this time around. Greenbone Saga.
I've still not finished that series, man.
I still have the second book on my nightstand. I'm just like, I'll get to it eventually. I got like 200 pages like left like in the second book, and like it's about, how long has it been?
I don't know.
Months. Well, we read a whole other series in the meantime with a month of a break, so like half a year. That's crazy. What?
Was it the first series we read this year?
I think it was. I think you might be right.
Yep.
Yeah, it's been at least 4 months because we read 3 books in the Aurora series. We had a month, or maybe we didn't take a break. No, but we took a break before this.
July and August, and then we started this. Yeah, so it was at the beginning of the year.
It's not gonna happen, man. I think I deleted the footage I had because it was such a shit show. I'll do some shorts about my thoughts so that you can at least know what I hate.
That happens. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the next one. We'll share on Twitter as soon as we have like a date for the live show and the sprints for October. October, right? Yes, I'm still confused. Yeah. It's beginning of October. It's the end of the year. But yeah, thank you for being here and discussing this book. I really had a good time with you all. Gabby, Kira, thank you for being here. And yeah, take care, everyone. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.